Hello, and thank you for worshiping with us at Cathedral of Hope United Church of Christ. Thank you for spending a part of your day with us. My name is Reverend Dr. Neil, and I'm the Senior Minister here at Cathedral of Hope. In just a few minutes, we're going to get our worship started. Our fabulous musicians are going to offer a worship set with uplifting music, praise, and prayer, and an opportunity for you to share your gifts for the benefit of our church. We'll hear a word of hope that is sure to leave you inspired, and we'll close out with more music that will carry you into the rest of the week. Now is a great time to check in. Just follow the link in the comments to register your attendance and offer any prayer requests and celebrations you'd like us to attend to over this week. There are so many ways to stay connected to Cathedral of Hope throughout the week, and in the description of this video, we are offering links to our small groups, our weekly email, and our Facebook CFAM. Make sure you check those out. Finally, we post content throughout the week on Facebook and YouTube, so please make sure you hit the subscribe and follow buttons. And if you like this worship service, please give it a thumbs up and hit share to invite your friends to worship with you. With all of that said, worship is going to begin in just a minute, so find your seats and we'll get started shortly.
It's as if we've wandered the desert, travelers without a home, together yet alone in this uncertainty. An uncommon time, unexpected, undefined, binds us, unites us, does not divide us, but reminds us of who we are. A body, not a building, unrelenting, unyielding, persevering, revealing the faithfulness of God. Maybe this virus has started a fire inside us, ignited us, inspired us to live louder, love harder, care deeper. 6 feet, 6 miles, or a world apart. Our calling remains the same. For we are the body of Christ.
Puedo volver hacia el pasado y controlar lo que pueda venir, pero aquí en el presente es donde tú prometiste estar. No puedo más si tú no estás. Ven y encuéntrame otra vez. Pues todo en mí te anhela a ti. Ven y encuéntrame otra vez. As I walk down this valley, let your love rise above every feet, like the sun shaping the shadow. Say, in my weakness, your glory appears. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet us here again?
Good evening and welcome to Pulse Worship here at Cathedral of Hope United Church of Christ. I'm so glad that you've chosen to spend a part of your evening with us this night, gathered together as community. My name is Reverend Dr. Neil. I'm the Senior Minister here at Cathedral of Hope, and it really is my joy to welcome you to worship. As we get worship started this evening, I want to just let you know that we're continuing our sermon series on the 4 agreements. But wait a minute, we're actually preaching on 5, so come back next week for the last installment of this particular sermon series. Many of us here at Cathedral of Hope are sustaining disciples, which means that we're on a discipleship path of deepening our experience with God, and that also involves the way in which we give to this congregation. So on your screen now, you'll find the ways in which you can give. You can give through our website, you can give via text to give, or of course you can mail in a check. Any donation that you're able to make helps us to sustain the ministry here at Cathedral of Hope and ensures that you are a sustaining disciple of this great work. So welcome, let's take a seat, let's enjoy worship as we allow the Spirit of the living God to fall afresh on us. God bless you and welcome.
The Lord is my shepherd. You go before me, defender behind me. I won't fear. I'm filled with anointing. My cup's overflowing. No weapon can harm me. I won't fear. Always guide me through mountains and valleys. Joy is refreshing. Your joy is refreshing. It restores my soul. Restores my soul. Mercy and goodness. Mercy and goodness. Give me assurance that I'll see your glory. See your glory face to lives within me, so I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me, my victory, my victory. Your spirit lives within me, so I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me, my victory, my victory. Your spirit lives within me, so I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me, my victory, my victory. Your spirit lives within me, so I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me, my victory, 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 my victory. Oh, hallelujah, I am not alone. You're my comfort. You're my comfort. Always hold me close. Wherever you are, sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. I am not alone. Your word declares, so I believe. You're my comfort, always hold me close.
Hallelujah, and thank God we are never alone. May that be our affirmation today, that in the fog of a pandemic, through the chaos of an overly active hurricane season, and amidst the confusion and the questions that you might be living with and living into, the truth is that God is right here with us, and God is present because the Spirit of God lives within us. My friends, today we continue our sermon series on the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Now, let's see if you recall what we've discussed thus far in this series. The first agreement, number one, be impeccable with your word. And the second one, number two, don't take anything personally. Last week we covered number three, do your best, or as Reverend Andre reminded us, do your best and God will do the rest. Our agreement to discuss today, agreement number four, do not make assumptions. Now, we should be careful about making assumptions because assumptions, they can set us up for a lot of suffering. For example, this past weekend, someone placed a bet, a wager on the Atlanta Falcons and Dallas Cowboys football game. In the middle of the game, they placed a bet. With 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, the Atlanta Falcons were up by 15 points. I mean, it was obvious the Cowboys were going to lose. I mean, even Cowboys fans thought the game was over. Well, this one individual assumed the Cowboys would absolutely lose. And so what did they do? They decided to place a $35,000 bet in the fourth quarter, right? Betting against the Cowboys. Now, it was a reasonable assumption, one would think, because of the odds. The person would bet $35,000 and they would only win $1,000. But they thought it was a sure thing, so hey, why not make an extra easy $1,000? Well, the odds were against the Cowboys, but then the unthinkable happened. Cowboys fans know what happened. They came back, right? Throughout the fourth quarter, they came back from a 15-point deficit. They kicked an onside kick and they recovered the ball, and they ended up winning the game with a field goal. Great for Cowboys fans, but this one person who assumed they would lose, this person lost $35,000. Can Can you imagine lose $35,000 because of one assumption? My friends, assumptions can set you up for suffering. Now, maybe assumptions haven't cost you $35,000, but maybe your assumptions have cost you a job, right? A relationship, or maybe assumptions have caused you to miss out on a loving relationship with your God. My friends, assumptions can set us up for suffering, but there is a way to save us from some of this suffering. Don Miguel Ruiz says in his book that we make all sorts of assumptions because we don't have the courage to ask questions. In our Bible, we encounter people who make assumptions and people who are willing to exercise the courage to question their assumptions. In the first chapter of the Gospel of John, we're told about John baptizing Jesus and proclaiming that this is God's chosen one. And so people hear about this Jesus and a few begin to follow him. Now remember, this is before the big signs, right? This is before the big miracles. This is before Jesus' social media profiles have gone viral. This is before all the big crowds. This is Jesus at the very beginning of his ministry. And Andrew and Peter, they start following Jesus, and then Philip comes and he follows Jesus. And this is where we pick up our scripture for tonight. Here is John chapter 1, verses 44 through 46. It reads, Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael responded, "Nazareth? Can anything good come from Nazareth?" And Philip said, "Come and see." We see already in the very first chapter of the Gospel of John, we see assumptions being made about the people of Nazareth. Not even the Anointed One, not even Jesus Christ himself is immune from people making assumptions about him. Now, truth be told, we don't know exactly what Nathanael might be referring to. Maybe the places of Nazareth and Bethsaida. Maybe there's a rivalry between them. Maybe they have rival sports teams or something. Maybe it's all in good fun. Or maybe Nazareth wasn't known for producing the best messiahs. Maybe the people from Nazareth weren't seen as coming from good stock, as some of my friends used to say. Maybe in the eyes of the more urban and the more sophisticated folks, maybe in their eyes the Nazarenes were ignorant, simple-minded sinners. Sinners come from Nazareth, yes, but messiahs, absolutely not. But whatever the case, assumptions are being made. But notice how Nathanael expresses the assumption. He obviously has been taught and he learned this stereotype of people from Nazareth, but he expresses the assumption in the form of a question, right? Now he could have said, "Nazareth? Nope, no thank you. I'll catch the next Messiah. Tell me when the one from Jerusalem gets here." He didn't say any of that, right? He literally asked, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" Now to us it sounds harsh, right? Assumptions, they don't sound good, they don't feel good. But Nathanael not only asks the question, when Philip tells him to come and experience Jesus for yourself, what does Nathanael do? He goes and he chooses to experience Jesus for himself. And we know that a few verses later, we learn that Nathanael becomes a follower of Jesus. And Nathanael's life is forever changed. And he knows now that something good can come from Nazareth. And it only happened because what? He asked a question. He questioned the assumption. And he chose to experience Jesus for himself. I wonder if many of us need to question our assumptions. Now, I think it's a truth that we all make assumptions these days, right? Assumptions, they seem to make life easier for us, right? We have these experiences in our life, and when we have them, our brains begin to group these different strands of information together so they can be easily accessed in the future. And so relying on our assumptions can make it seem like life is easier for us. For example, when I drive to church on these Dallas city streets, I have my routes, right? I have my way to get to church in the quickest way possible. And I might assume that these routes are the best. And then I learn quickly that Anything can happen on the streets here in Dallas, right? Roads are closed because of a marathon one day. There's a car accident another day, or just more construction. And then I'm forced to question my assumption and go to my Waze app on my phone. And I learned that questioning your assumptions can help you find your way. Questioning your assumptions can help you find your way. What does questioning your assumptions look like? Well, for some people, it looks like premarital counseling, for example. Now, usually when folks wish to marry, we encourage them to engage in some sort of premarital counseling. I think it's a helpful endeavor, right, to clarify and level expectations, especially if you're making such big commitments. Regardless of who is getting married, marriage can mean different things for different people. For some folks, it's a purely religious thing, right? Being blessed and united before your God with the one you love. And then for others, it's about the civil benefits, right? And the civil protections that one has under the law. Very important. My friends, I can't tell you how many uncomfortable conversations I've witnessed because the assumptions people make in relationships, right? In these meetings, the emotions become real and they become raw, right? That folks are really understanding what it means to be in a relationship and ask these hard questions. But because couples decided to actually go through this process, right? Actually ask difficult questions and actually discuss their assumptions, their relationship and their marriage was eventually stronger because of it. Whether you're in a relationship or not, creating space for you to ask questions about some of the assumptions you have about others in your life will only serve to help you find your way. I've learned in my life of experiences, right, in my life experience of relationships, for example, that I have to question my assumptions. For example, when someone in my house says that they're going to do laundry, I've learned to ask, what does that mean, right? Does laundry mean wash and fold? Because if you're in my house, people love to wash the clothes, right? In my house, people love to dry the clothes, right? But nobody enjoys folding the laundry, right? To me, laundry means wash and fold, but to some folks, it just means wash and no fold. Now, that's been my assumption, and I've learned to ask questions, right? And we should all learn to ask our friends, our housemates, our significant others, that what does doing laundry or doing other chores mean to them, right? Because assumptions will only cause needless suffering, needless arguments that no one needs. Now, we don't always like asking questions because, let's face it, it's difficult. It's uncomfortable to us. And it's not that we're scared of asking questions. Maybe we're actually scared of finding the truth. Some of us are scared of the truth. We've made assumptions and fantasized how others see us and how we see ourselves in these many different relationships. We would rather spend so much effort holding up the facade instead of finding truth in our relationships and the truth really within us. Many years ago in the movie Pulp Fiction, there's a character named Jules, and he has his friend Vincent, and they lead lives of crime and murder, terrible things. Well, Jules has this freaky God moment, and he has this revelation that he's being called out of this life of crime. And he tells his crime partner, Vincent, that he's quitting the murder and the crime business, so to speak. And his friend, his crime partner, Vincent, starts freaking out. He says, "You can't do this, Jules. You're going to ruin your life. If you quit, everything will be different. Are you really serious about this?" And then Jules turns to Vincent and he says, "If my answers frighten you, then you should cease asking scary questions." That's the heart of it, isn't it? We don't want to ask questions because we are afraid of the possible answers. And rather than deal with the truth and the changes that might need to come about in our lives, for some reason, we would rather stick to our ignorant assumptions. My friends, we all have a choice. You have a choice. You can hide behind your ignorant assumptions, or you can choose to experience a God-filled disruption, right? Something holy, something beautiful. Thank God that the disciple Nathanael, for example, thank God that Nathanael was willing to question, right, his ignorant assumptions about Jesus and the people of Nazareth. Thank God that Nathanael chose to experience Christ for himself, right, and to choose to disrupt his life for something better, something holy, and something of God. And shouldn't we do the same? shouldn't we experience Jesus for ourselves? Maybe for all these years you've been relying on a view of faith that's been handed down to you by other folks. Maybe this faith isn't authentic to you. Maybe people have told you for years that this God does not care for you, this God does not love you. Maybe people told you for years that you aren't worthy to be a child of God. People made all these assumptions about you and your God, and for so many years, you believed them. And maybe it's time to question those assumptions. Maybe you're like the gambler who lost $35,000 this past weekend simply by making an assumption about the Dallas Cowboys. Now, you might not have lost $35,000 on one assumption, but maybe you're losing something far more valuable. You're missing out on an authentic relationship with a God who actually loves you. Maybe you're tired of doing life with someone else's God, someone else's Jesus, and you want to question some assumptions so you can experience God for yourself. Maybe you really need to ask God some difficult questions. Don't be scared. Ask God your difficult questions. I like to tell folks all the time, our God is a big God, right? The Spirit can handle it. But just be sure that you are ready. Be sure you're ready for life-changing answers. Be sure you're ready for spiritual truth. And be sure you are ready for something radical, like the amazing love of Christ. Nathanael found out that something good can come from Nazareth. And I pray, I hope, and I'm assured that indeed something good can come from wherever you are. My friends, be blessed. Don't make assumptions. Ask questions and experience God this day. Amen.
I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. Give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me.
give myself to you. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I'm coming back to the heart of worship. It's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. Use me, Jesus. Oh. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me.
It never fails to surprise me just how amazing God is and how God is present in our worship. Thank you, Reverend Michael, for bringing the word this evening to Voices of Hope and to all those who make worship possible here at Cathedral of Hope. I sincerely hope that you have found something this evening that has blessed you and will sustain you in your journey of faith. God bless you, and as you enjoy the rest of your evening, know that God is with you. Amen.